Evening, everyone. Welcome to Elevate.live. It's the fifth Monday of the month. And so tonight, rather than Q&A or a specific product deep dive or Sam's update, which he's going to do next weekend and state of the Alevea address, we are going to do a special talk on a new science that we've learned about that ties directly into hydration in our bodies. And Sam, I couldn't be happier to have anybody lead this discussion than you.
Well, great. Thanks, Steve. It has been a project that we've been working on. And, Craig Smith made contact with the Paddle Association. We've talked about that before. In fact, we went to one of their tournaments in Florida and did a test market on a pilot project of this hydration drink. They kind of approached Craig and said, listen, we want to co-brand our entire organization worldwide with a revolutionary technology for hydration. And everything that we're looking at, it's everybody's drink. It's like, it doesn't matter what brand you look at, they're all the same. Is there anything that you could do that would make it different and unique? And of course, from a hydration standpoint, there are some basic principles that you have to follow, to rehydrate the body, particularly after, an event like that where you're sweating like crazy and you're losing a lot of electrolytes. But, at first, I thought about Ace Manning from a recovery standpoint. And some of you remember us talking about this years ago when I first launched the first stabilized Ace Manning in 1994, as a matter of fact. Sometime late 94, early 95, it's been a long time ago, but I got a call from the head track and field coach at University of Houston. His name was Tom Tellez. And that's where all the Olympic sprinters trained at University of Houston. So Leroy Burrell, Carl Lewis, Mike Marsh, the list goes on, Joe Deloche. They were all down there, and he said, I'm calling because my athletes are taking your product. And three things are happening. Number one, they're working out longer. Number two, they're recovering faster, which is a potent combination. And number three, and this is really the exciting news, is they're starting to shave fractions of seconds off their world-class times. And he said, I've never seen anything like this, so I need to know, what is this? Is it a steroid? What is it that's causing this effect? And I assured him it wasn't a steroid effect and there was nothing illegal in it. But one of the doctors, Reg McDaniel, and I went to Houston and met with him and went through the science of Ace Manning and its immune optimizing, capacity to heal what is damaged. And of course, one of the things that happens during heavy duty exercising or workouts is damage, tissue damage, muscle damage. It breaks it down. And so the ability to recover faster allows you to work out longer and more frequently. And so that's what he was seeing. And so I explained the science to him. Of course, Dr. Ed shared the safety, that they had gone through at Carrington Labs studies and, everything from mice to medical students and no toxicity whatsoever. And so he said, we need to go to New York and sit down with USA Track and Field, because not only do our sprinters need to be on this, everybody, in USA Track and Field has to have access to this technology. So we did. And USA Track and Field embraced it, loved it. We gave it to athletes all over the place. And then I kind of kid Craig Smith, and I said, one day I got a call from Canadian Track and Field. And they said, hey, we're hearing about this incredible supplement and what it's doing. Some of the coaches are sharing it with us. Can we get access to it? And I thought, well, let me think about that. As an American, do I want Canadian Track and Field? I'm not sure. As a business person, of course I want you to have access to it. So we shared it with Canadian Track and Field, and then pretty soon it was UK Track and Field, then Australian Track and Field, Chris, and everybody was using it. And then Ben Johnson, who was a 200-meter sprinter in Canada, won a gold medal. And of course, they're immediately tested, and he tested positive for steroid. And he said, I didn't take steroids. All I took were dietary supplements. Now, he may not have been talking about our product because we don't know if he was taking it or not. But the Track and Field Association said that's it. We cannot take the liability of distributing dietary supplements. We need to be out of that business. But, there for several years, that was the norm. So I shared that experience with Craig and some of the guys from the paddle, and they go, that is exactly the kind of technology we want to combine with our hydration. We want to hydrate and recover. And it's kind of interesting. We shared that with Dr. Rodriguez, and he said, oh, you're going to be excited about new science that's come out. And so just about when you think you've heard everything that Ace Manning can do, we're going to share something with you tonight that couldn't have come at a better time for an organization that is trying to create the cutting edge hydration drink. So we're going to kind of go through the science of how Ace Manning affects hydration, because it does. So Steve is pulling up the slides. So what is Ace Manning's role in hydration? Well, first of all, you need to know that the body is about 60% water. And our true hydration is not just drinking water, it's how much water gets into our cells. I mean, that's really what hydration is all about. The amount of water that gets into the cell and gets out of the cell to protect homeostasis. And water is a key component because it carries immune cells, it carries nutrients into the cell, and it carries debris out. And so that flow has to go both ways, and believe it or not, that flow is regulated. When cells are exposed to poor hydration, it's linked to fatigue and aging. It's called inflammaging because it also contributes to inflammation and, of course, accelerated aging. The older population is more vulnerable because as you get older, of course, a lot of things are going on. Number one, your metabolism is slowing down. Number two, your immune system is becoming more compromised. You've been exposed to things longer. And hydration is more difficult to achieve the older you get. Okay, so what dictates the majority of the flow of water in and out of cells? That was discovered in 2003 by this man, Dr. Peter Agre. What would you say, Steve? Agre. He discovered these protein channels, they're glycoproteins, in the cells, and he named them aquaporins. And these are the channels that allow water to flow in and flow out. And it can actually dictate permeability, meaning the ability to get water into the cell 10 times more than trying to just pass through the membrane of the cell by itself. So for rapid regulation, you need more, you need less, you need to detox, you need, more nutrient. Aquaporins are the gatekeepers of that flow. I'm going to read this because I haven't seen this, but and Steve put a lot of this together. Thanks, Steve, for doing this, by the way. Hydration isn't just about how much water you drink. It's about how much your cells use. That's what we just talked about. Aquaporins are a big part of that system, acting as the infrastructure that makes effective hydration possible at the cellular level. In fact, aquaporins dramatically increase the speed of which water can move across the membranes. Without them, water would still, penetrate, because it can, through the membrane, but far too slowly to meet the body's needs. This makes them essential for proper hydration and getting water into and out of your cells when it's needed. Steve, why don't you cover the pathway itself?
Yeah, so here's an illustration of what an aquaporin would look like. Of course, this is a rendering. But you see that water channel, it's like a pore out of the skin, aquaporin. So this is specifically to transmit water, but there are other different lipids or chemicals that can move in and out of the cell through the aquaporins, but it's the main pathway for water flux, influx and outflux. It's the central to cell volume regulation. Your cells, you don't, just like people talk about, they start to feel, they have glaucoma and they start to feel pressure in their eye building up. Cells can have that pressure too. They can actually be puffed out. You've got to make sure that those channels are working to get waste out, to get water, as Sam said, in and out. And it's critical for immune cell migration. So again, when we don't have enough water in our system, the cells start to shrink up. They're actually not working properly. It slows things down. We don't have the transport that we normally need. Aquaporins help speed up that transport for immune cell migration, and they enable precise solute concentration control. So it's how much goes in, how much goes out. It is a very precise measurement. You know, if you suddenly took your house pipes, the water pipes in your house, and increased that pressure to 400 or 500 psi, you're going to start popping and blowing pipes out. You've got to have regulation of that water pressure, just as we need water pressurization regulation in our cells, and that's another thing aquaporins do.
Yeah, and those yellow squiggly things on either side of that aquaporin, those are the proteins. And they have sugars attached to them on either side so they can be regulated and communicate, need more water, need less water, detox, need more mineral, need more this. You know, so we're going to be putting, you know, high levels of minerals into this solution because the cells are starving for it. And so, but they'll communicate that. And so how is the flow regulated of aquaporins? That's a good question. Next. Well, they're regulated by the immune system. So immune cells control aquaporin expression. Isn't that interesting? So immune cells express aquaporin 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Pro-inflammatory cytokines upregulate, you know, some of these. So when the immune system is responding, you know, a cytokine is one of the responses that goes out, and that will upregulate, you know, aquaporin 1, aquaporin 3. Activated immune cells can alter aquaporin expression patterns. And so what does that mean? It means that when the immune system is saying, hey, there's damage here, we need more of this, we need more immune cells in the cell, it will open up that channel and flow, you know, more immune cells through that aquaporin to get inside and try to repair whatever the damage is. So if you've got a normal immune system that is optimally working and it's precise, then what you get is homeostasis, you know, adequate aquaporin control. You want to talk about dysfunction, Steve?
Sure. So when the aquaporins are dysfunctional, they're not functioning properly. This could be due to aging, genetics, disease, regulatory issues. The body's ability to move water efficiently at the cellular level becomes compromised. And because water balance underpins every physiological process, the effects can be widespread and catastrophic throughout the whole system. When they're disrupted, it's not just dehydration, it's a breakdown in how water is distributed and used at the cellular level. And a few examples of aquaporin dysfunction are chronic inflammation from persistently abnormal aquaporin expression. Excessive aquaporin causes tissues to swell and edema, and deficient aquaporin, it impairs immune cell migration. Again, you don't have the proper flow. Disrupted cell volume and ionic homeostasis. So the ions in the body have to be able to move as well. So when they're out of homeostasis, again, that is something that is catastrophic to the system. It's a shock to the system. That is why we have to prevent these aquaporins from having dysfunction.
So what is the evidence that Ace Mannin can do that? Well, they activate macrophages via these pathways. You don't need to know those. You just need to know it does. It enhances M2 macrophage polarization, stimulates cytotoxic T cell proliferation, which are the T cells that actually attack damaged cells, induces dendritic cell, which is another phagocyte like a macrophage is. It's in the lymph system. Maturation upregulates or downregulates interleukin-2 expression. Same thing with interleukin-6. Up and down, the regulation or modulation of those is facilitated by Ace Mannin's effect on immune cells. Steve?
No, you continue on with this one, Sam.
Okay, so how does Ace Mannin support the function? Well, certain signaling pathways, like inflammatory cytokines, growth factors, those types of things, can upregulate, downregulate aquaporin expression. Through its known effects on the immune modulation, cell signaling, cytokine balance, tissue support, factors that are essential for the proper expression and positioning of aquaporins, Ace Mannin can help maintain appropriate aquaporin levels and regulation. While it does not directly activate these water channels, Ace Mannin helps create the conditions which aquaporins can function efficiently, supporting balanced hydration and fluid movement at the cellular level. Now, in saying that, that's what we say about everything, right? Ace Mannin doesn't attack cancer. Ace Mannin doesn't attack autoimmunity. Ace Mannin doesn't treat anything. It optimizes your immune system's response to everything. And one of those everythings is aquaporin function and regulation.
So I'll take this one, how dehydration affects us. So we've talked about the importance of proper hydration, but dehydration isn't just not enough water. It's a cascade of problems that starts at the cellular level and scales up to tissues, organs, and ultimately whole body dysfunction. Our cells depend on water structure and chemistry. And even mild dehydration reduces metabolic efficiency and increases cellular stress. And when you're dehydrated, the fluid outside your cells becomes more concentrated, higher osmolarity. Water is pulled out of the cell, causing it to shrink and thereby disrupting enzymatic activity, nutrient transport, waste removal, and electrical signaling. Imagine you've got the garbage department goes on strike and you've got garbage building up on the curb outside your home. It's going to start to stink. You're going to have all this stuff there, bacteria and everything growing there. Well, imagine when you start to have waste removal not come out of your body. These toxins start to cause damage and you start to feel fatigue, and it starts to cause inflammation, as Sam mentioned earlier, and it causes a whole host of problems. Waste removal is only one aspect, as damaging as that is, of how dehydration affects us. Very important that we hydrate the cells. A lot of people have said to me, you know, I love the pills that Alovea has, the different capsules that we take for the omegas and everything else. Why do we have so many drink mixes? Let me tell you something. Hydration is key. Water is the optimal way to get hydrated. However, you can get sufficient hydration, believe it or not, even from soda. There's a trade-off. It's not good for you, but you don't die of dehydration if all you drink is soda. You may get diabetes or something else like that. But a lot of people, I've heard these so-called experts out there on social media say, oh, don't put lemon in your water. Don't put this in there. The water has to be clean. No, it doesn't. The body can remove water, can separate out molecules. As a developed country, we hardly ever have empty stomachs. So none of us are suffering from severe dehydration or their effects. It's important that we do drink plenty of water, but it's okay to drink Focus, Fix, Fuel, hot cocoa, whatever it is. It's okay to drink those things, and you still will receive hydration. Not having fluids, that's where you really run into a problem. So, Sam, why don't you go over the different systems and how dehydration affects us?
Well, I mean, you can imagine the cells, if they're not hydrated appropriately, then structure function breaks down, cardiovascular system, your blood volume drops, your blood becomes thicker, the heart works harder, kidneys, reduced filtration efficiency, increased concentration of waste products, risk of kidney strain and stones. In the brain, I mean, the brain, listen, is made up of 75% water. So the cells in the brain really need hydration. And if they don't have it, then even mild dehydration can create headaches, reduced focus, mood changes. They now have linked it to memory loss, to like things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And so it's critical to keep the brain hydrated, the cells of the brain. And then, of course, the skin loses elasticity, becomes dry, less effective as a barrier against everything that it's designed to keep out.
Now that's a crazy statistic with the brain, Sam, that even 1 to 2% dehydration starts to affect brain chemistry. That living in Arizona, that makes me nervous, especially with summer coming up. I'm going to make sure that I stay plenty hydrated. Very thankful for the new flavors of Focus, that I can have 2 more weapons in my arsenal against that. So Sam, why don't you go over the key takeaway that we have with acemannan and hydration?
Okay, so as a bioactive polysaccharide, acemannan works intelligently to help support the structure of extracellular environment, enhance cellular communication, help create the conditions where water can be absorbed, retained, and utilized more efficiently. So instead of just pouring water into your system, you're actually improving the system itself. Because true hydration isn't about intake, it's about cellular performance. And when your cells perform better, your tissues function better, your organs work more efficiently, and the entire body operates at a higher level. So that's the difference between being hydrated and being optimally hydrated. And again, acemannan's role in this, guys, is not direct. It's not that acemannan causes hydration. Acemannan, again, optimizes every function of the immune system to work better and do what it's designed to do. And we just, in recent years, discovered aquaporons, and even more recently, discovered how they were regulated through immunity, which Dr. Rodriguez brought to our attention when we were in LA. And when we talked about we're working on a hydration drink, he goes, "Oh my gosh, I got to show you the data that's just coming out." And so when we say that we're going to create a cutting edge hydration product, and we share this kind of information with the Paddle Association, they're just like ecstatic. It's like, it really doesn't matter what club it goes into, or whether the club is predominantly pickleball or tennis or maybe paddle or whatever. Hydration, everybody understands the need for it. And to have a product with this cutting edge technology. So, acemannan is playing a dual role. It's facilitating cellular hydration and recovery, like we've seen for years, the recovery of athletes under strenuous exercising and performance. And then, of course, what it does for hydration. So it's pretty incredible, Steve. And so everybody called Steve and said, go to work, go to the lab and get going, make it work well, make it taste good. And Steve did that. I took samples down with me to Florida. This has been a few months ago. And it was just overwhelming response. People were just going, "Are you kidding? uh, while we were there, Craig and I were asked to do a podcast. With these podcasts, they are the podcasters of paddle. And of course, paddle is huge in Europe, paddle is huge in South America. It's coming to America. You know, it sounds like a song from Neil Diamond. And anyway, so they did this podcast and they interviewed us on this revolutionary new hydration drink. He said they've had 250 million watches. He said, how quick can you guys get this to market? And I think it's one of those unique technologies that we're known for coming up with and for producing. And Steve, incredible job on putting it all together.
Well, thanks, Sam. You know, it's a team effort. We all work together on this stuff. And listen, I've said it many times. I'm not gilding the lily here. Having a CEO that actually understands the company technology is vital. There are so many people in the nutritional space where the CEO may have come from, you know, Eddie Bauer or some ridiculous thing like that, and doesn't even understand the company that they're running. So it's great that you understand that science. You got it down, and we get to make it happen together. That's a good thing. You know, we have a very special week ahead of us, Friday and Sunday for most of us. And just want to wish you and your family a happy Easter and Good Friday, as well as everybody out there. Thank you, as always, for your leadership.
Thank you, guys. Blessings to you. We'll talk to you next week.